What I realized very early postpartum is that the piece of me that was the most gone or like the most lost or invisible was the playful, curious, creative version of me. It's like as
Yeah.
soon as that baby exited my body, it was like that was no longer proper.
Welcome to the Sparkle Project. I'm Emily, a divorced mom of two on my own journey to shine a little brighter. This podcast is here to help you protect your sparkle amidst the chaos and impossible expectations of modern motherhood. If you're a mom ready to choose yourself and shine, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sparkle Project. Today, we are going to be talking all about creative expression and the role that expressing ourselves creatively plays in our well-being. This is something in my own life that I have been exploring and tapping into in the last few years, really understanding how, as a person who used to say I'm not very creative, how actually like tapping into creativity in maybe different ways than, I don't know, the typical like, oh, I'm learning to paint or something like that we kind of generally think of as this stereotypical way of being creative. How tapping into that creativity has helped me connect with myself and my identity. And just having that experience as a mom, as a person, I love the opportunity to talk about people who are using art as therapy and creative expression in a very legitimate way to do exactly that, right? So, joining me today is Kayla Huszar, who is a registered social worker and expressive arts therapist who helps mothers navigate guilt, rage, and identity loss, not by offering more parenting strategies, but through creative expression. Kayla, welcome to the Sparkle Project. If you can't tell, I'm like so excited to get into this topic with you and just like pick your brain on all that you have to give us about this. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and this amazing work that you do?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. So, like you said, my name is Kayla Huszar. Like an owl, that's how you say it. It's even harder to spell. And I got into this work because as a mom, as a very new mom, what I realized very early postpartum is that the piece of me that was the most gone or like the most lost or invisible was the playful, curious, creative version of me. It's like as
Yeah.
soon as that baby exited my body, it was like that was no longer proper. That was no longer a good way to spend my time. Even though it was like the very thing that like actually made me feel like I was alive. And so through a myriad of mental health challenges and navigations and shifts and changes in who I was and how we lived and all those kinds of things. It was about 6 months postpartum. And it was like I was craving something outside of just this baby's the only thing that I take care of. Right. And it's the only thing that I focus on. It's the only thing that I read about. It's like, ugh. It's like, and I was like, I need to do something else. And so I
Yeah.
registered for a art journaling class that, and this was 10 years ago. So like, many more things were in person. That was really the only option. And so I figured out the childcare. I'm married to a shift worker. I figured out the pumping and the feeding and the bedtimes and the things, and I was gonna go. And then they didn't have enough registrations to run the class. And I was like gutted. It's like, oh my God, this one thing, the one thing that I thought was mine, I can't have. I can't even have that. The world won't let me have it. It was like I didn't really know what to do with any of that because, I'd done all this effort to get to this thing and then it didn't work out. And then, you hit the year mark and you go back to I'm Canadian. So at the year mark, you go back to work. And it was like, there's still something missing from all of this. Either I'm working or I'm parenting. And that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That is just not enough. And I wanted to merge my two passions, which is helping people, the social work side, and the creativity. In a lot of my social work jobs, I was in charge of like program development. So, like programs or activities facilitating like evenings or like things around topics, self esteem, those kinds of things. And I wanted to marry these two things around like helping people, but being able to do it creatively because I saw this huge gap where if people are not expressing themselves, they are likely not okay in some way, shape, or form. And so I found this expressive arts therapy training, which would take me 10 days away from my family. And for context, I had a 2-year-old. And so it would take me away from my family, from my home. Again, married to a shift worker, this is nearly impossible to get away for 10 days. So anyway, signed up for the class and the process. And the thing that I didn't anticipate happening in all of that, which is related to the creative expression topic, is that I didn't imagine that that experience would be the path to finding myself again.
Yeah.
And then everything just kind of like made sense.
The ideas that you're sharing there, I relate to so much. Just like when you have a child, it's all consuming. It just is. Like there's no real ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have a newborn, they're hardly sleeping, you're hardly sleeping, all these things, right? And that's just kind of a natural part of becoming a mother, becoming a parent. But as our child grows and we get more used to the role and things change, all of this, there's like the what next? What do I do next? And I think for a lot of moms, I mean, I know for me and for so many moms that I talk to, it's like if you're not intentional about creating space in your life for something else, the what's next is just more of the same, focusing on your child. Your life is parenting, working, doing those things. And it's hard to like even know who you are in all of that, right? And you never know what the thing's going to be that pulls you out of that, that gives you the space to exist as a person. But you really do have to be intentional to create the opportunities for that. And I think that that piece here of like creative expression, any way to express yourself and to like experience who you are outside of these roles is really powerful. And we don't, I think, as a culture, allow ourselves to be creative in that way. We kind of box in what it means to be creative.
Yes.
It's like going to a training, like you said, could be the thing for you. It's like something that like gets your brain moving and doing things and learning. And that brings you closer to yourself and connects you. That's not a, quote, creative thing, but it is. It can be, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious if you can like share a little bit more about why creative expression, why expression in general, why that is something you see as a form of wellness.
Oh, you know how some people feel like things just like come from within, and some people have to try really hard to get a thing or to learn a skill or to think a certain way. And I feel like I have been, quote unquote, cutting and pasting myself back together since I was a teenager. And so I have had this natural knowing about creativity. And so I used to like cut up magazines and like make collages in my bedroom as like a teenager. I've always kept a notebook in my backpack. Like, I mean, I'm almost 40 and I still carry a backpack because I have to have my notebook and my pens and my highlighters. Like, I have to go everywhere with it all the time.
Yeah.
And I would like write poetry in the margins of my schoolwork. And so why creative expression is that like it is, in my opinion, the missing pillar of wellness that has been very under researched. I mean, it is research, but it's not mainstream research. Like I could spout off 10 articles that prove that creative expression could be better for you than running, but it's not like socially acceptable. It's like, it's that frivolous thing. And I hear it from my clients all day, every day. I'm not creative. I don't have time for that. What would I even do? How do I access that? And there's some real legitimate obstacles and barriers to that when we think about like primary school children getting into adolescence, getting into high school, getting into university. We grade art, we grade creativity. Yeah. And so there are some like legitimate things about the accessibility of it. Not the accessibility of it. I don't want to phrase it like that. The ease to accessing it for a person. And the science behind it, to like really answer your question around the why, is like the science behind it is as healthy for people as meditation, as running, as eating healthy. I'm a bit of a research science nerd, but also like I like to translate it into ways that actually make sense to people. It's like it actually lowers the cortisol levels in your body. It regulates your nervous system and your emotions. It actually boosts your immunity. There are some studies that actually say that when you are creative, you're less likely to get sick. And so it's like there is just as much value in it as all of these other like more mainstream body-based things.
It's interesting as you say that. First of all, like the piece of it not being as mainstream, and you think about like the wellness
Mhm.
space. I like think about Instagram and the content you're fed in the wellness space. It is like these pillars that exist: meditation, fitness, all these things, and you really don't ever come across creative expression
Mhm.
as a part of that, right? Like that's a really interesting thing when you frame it like this of like there is legitimate research into the benefits of this. And I definitely want to get into those benefits a little bit more, but I'm wondering if you can help me kind of see what creative expression actually looks like, because again, like coming back to that
Mm.
idea of like we're taught what creativity is. It seems like it fits in a box, and
Yes.
unlearning that, that's been a big piece of my journey. I mean, I'll just say I have a friend who is a new therapist, and part of like her schooling was doing art therapy, and like she's really into art therapy. And I was at her house like 2 weeks ago. She doesn't have kids. We were at her house and she like takes out these National Geographic magazines and we were doing collages, and I had the best time doing it. It was so much fun. And I'm like, oh, I totally used to do this as a teenager. This is
Mhm.
like a freeing activity on a Friday night. I never would have thought to do this because it's like, why? But it's like, because it's fun. It feels good. It was cool. I made a really cool, like, themed collage. But tell me more of like what that can look like, especially for a mom who either feels like creativity, creative expression is kind of more superfluous,
Yeah.
or feels like I'm not a creative person. Like I never
Yeah.
was. What are you talking about?
I'm going to answer this question in a left brain way and a right brain way. Our left brain is primarily the part of the brain that wants the logic, the checklist, the very clear communication.
Yeah.
And the right brain is the one that feels a little bit more emotional, a bit more expressive and creative in that way. So to answer your question in a logic way around like how or what someone might access is creativity at its core is anything. It could be the way that you drive home from work. It could be the way that you cook. It could be the way that you play or don't play with your kids. It could be what we think about in terms of like traditional visual art, collage, poetry, music, moving your body. Like even just the way that I'm like moving my hands right now could be expression, right? Creativity at its core is like the ability to express yourself in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't always have to involve something you can touch and feel or you create in the sense of like that boxed in version of what we create. And so that's like the left brain, which is probably all the things that if I asked anybody out on the street or in my office building what they think creativity is, they would think music, dancing, visual art, and with the caveat of doing it well, right? Like we're talking like so many people say, I'm not artsy, but I am creative. Or sometimes it's the opposite, right? When we talk to people who are artists, they can have this belief that like their artistry is for a purpose, it's for an outward thing. They make it for someone. They make it to live in someone's home, to be listened to in earbuds, in cars, at concerts, in stadiums. And when I break that down and unlearn all of that stuff, it is simply the ability to express oneself. And so, for the right brain, if you're comfortable, think about something in your life that has happened recently and just like allow it to kind of flash across your mind, like kind of a real quick commercial, right? Maybe like how you felt, the colors that were there, the people that were there, what were you wearing, what's right in front of you. And then if you had to explain that thing to somebody with an analogy or a metaphor, how would you explain that thing?
So like an experience that I've had.
So like did that experience feel like, oh my God, the weight of the world was on my shoulder?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking of actually like a positive experience, and I would say I'm like, okay, metaphor. It was like sipping a cold glass of not too sweet lemonade on a patio in the sunshine. It's not too hot out.
So what happened for me when I received that story? It's like I had a visceral reaction, right? Like I can actually feel the glass in my hand. I can feel the sunshine on my face. And then maybe even I take that metaphor a step further and I think, oh man, wouldn't it be awesome if my feet were also in the sand? Right.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like you could have totally told me that story with what it was, the actual experience. But the way that you told it creates a sensory experience for the person that you're also sharing it with.
Yeah.
Or let's say you wanted to capture that memory somehow. I might say, okay, would you like to draw that? Would you like to sketch it? Would you like to write it? Like when I'm in session with clients and we're doing virtual and they're at home, I'm like, do you actually want to go make a glass of lemonade right now? Because you can take me into the kitchen. Like that's totally possible. We don't have to do this thing where we're like the Brady Bunch and we don't move from the screen. Like we can move around. You can take me to the kitchen, right? And they might say yes, they might say no, but like it's that invitation into imagination. It's an invitation into this real thing happened to me. Whether we label it positive or negative or neutral or good or bad, this thing happened to me and I'm trying to communicate it or I'm trying to capture it or I'm trying to understand it or make sense of it. And so then it's like, okay, let's say for a second you did want to process this, right? And I might say to you, okay, are you drinking the lemonade? Is it actually for you? Is it for somebody else? What time of day do you think the sunshine is hitting you? What are you sitting on? What are you wearing? How do you feel? Is there somebody next to you? Do you have like an animal sidekick in this story? You know, and so it's like it brings us out of our lived experience because we're so close to it, right? The phone computer, the rectangle thing that we carry with us all the time. That's like a limb. We live so close to stuff.
Yeah.
That it can provide so much spaciousness when we can process or think of or make sense of things in a way that's not like, oh, I should probably just journal about this thing, which is totally valid and totally a tool that is amazing for people when it fits. But you might have written that experience, that positive experience in a real, like this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then I felt good.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how like that would translate then to like a hard experience with my kids and where that could be really useful to like describe the crushing feeling or whatever it is. Like it's I think sometimes in like therapeutic situations, it's like where do you feel it in your body and all those things, which is great, but sometimes we're so disconnected that like I don't what do you mean? It's not
What do
in my
you
body.
mean?
Like,
Yes. Yes. What do you mean find the anger in my body? Like I just screamed at my kids. Clearly it's coming out of my mouth.
It's all
like,
over.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I could see that like it's just another access point and it's an access point that has no limitations. Like it is whatever comes up is the access point.
It's that. Yeah.
I'm wondering with moms that you're working with, what kind of breakthroughs you see when they are given space to create in this way, to express in this way.
So the breakthroughs that can happen are they're really profound. Like I had someone who came to me, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions max. And she was feeling really lost and like invisible in her life. And the first thing we did was we created a spontaneous collage. I had a bin of things. She just like picked colors and elements of things that kind of spoke to her. And then, you know, we had our harvesting of that, which is like, okay, what might this mean? What might this mean? And I'm not assessing the art. They are.
Yeah.
They're coming with their own meanings. And so there was a little bit of a pulling at a string around like, these are the things that make you you, but they feel really inaccessible. Like, you know that you want them or that you need them, but they're like, you can't reach out and grab them. And you can't reach out and grab them because there's like social constructs. What's good? What's right? What's proper? And in our last session, the breakthrough was that she started listening to like screamo metal music in front of her kids and in front of her. She no longer hid it, was like essentially what ended up happening. And her husband questioned her about it, not in like an accusatory way, but just like, hey, your music has changed. Like, what's the deal? It's like kind of angry. Are you kind of angry? She was like, no, this is just the music I want to listen to. And I'm no longer going to only listen to it in the car when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
It's not always that simple, right? But Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
It was this thing that was hers that she could do now out in public. She didn't have to hide it. She didn't have to have her earbuds in. She didn't only have to listen to it in the car. She can listen to it in her living room while she's making lunch. Like, there's no right or wrong way to listen to music, but there is. There is socially acceptable music, and there is not socially acceptable music, especially when you are female and you are a mother.
Yeah. I want to almost like back up a little bit because I have so much coming into my brain, like just flooding me, and talk a little bit about like the conditioning we get, I guess, around creativity, but really just like expression. And there was something you said earlier about how even just the way you use your gestures can be like, it's expression, right? I mean, you said that and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Cause that's something like even something so simple as the way that we speak, I think probably, I would say every woman out there, but I think every person out there,
Every
because like
person.
men, it's like, it looks very different, the conditioning, but like men are like very much taught not to express anything. So we're all like programmed into non-expressiveness. I don't even know what I want to ask here, but I think I just want to like talk a little bit about that factor of it, of like where we come from as people, how this gets trained out of us. And maybe this is like the question about like, yeah, what does this do for our brain? What is the research? Why is it so important for us to be free to express in whatever way?
The way. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So first I'm going to say all of that conditioning, the patriarchy, the capitalism, supremacy, all the things hurts everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And for example, even if we think about what's more acceptable and not acceptable, even in gender, when we think about creativity, it's much more acceptable for women to do it than it is for men. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even though it's not as like female working generally with people who identify as female, it's still not accessible for them. Like, let alone men who would be conditioned and identify as a man, as male. And so this conditioning starts so early. The research shows that even in the most equitable homes, in terms of division of labor, roles, and gender, children, toddlers, have a pretty locked in version of gender by the time they're 18 months.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because who are the primary caregivers? Either the birthing person or the adopted, like if it's a same-sex couple, it would be either the person who did give birth or the person who stayed home in those initial days. And that person might still be male or identify as male, but they still have a pretty good idea of which parent does this and which parent does this in two-parent households. And not all homes are heteronormative, and not all homes only include two people in a couple. Like I want to make sure that I'm expressing that because it's very important. But by 18 months to 3 years, we have a pretty good idea of who provides childcare, who does the grocery shopping, who does the cleaning, even if that's outsourced, right? Like even if they're going to a facility for childcare. What are the stats on that? The majority of those people are women.
Yeah.
And so that idea, that conditioning hurts everyone. And when we think about creative expression and gender conditioning, gender norms, it's a hard thing to navigate when you want to untangle it, when you want to understand like what makes me me and what is going to be accepted within myself, within my family, within my job, within society. You know, like nobody asked me when I was going to go to France and learn a cooking class. It was, when are you having your child? When are you having your next child? And what's next after that? What's your next career move? What's your next thing? What, you know, but nobody said, hey, you want to go to Portugal and like go on a 10-day painting retreat? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Can we start more of those conversations, please? Because the norms, the check boxes that people have for life often don't include a lot of expression, but yet we feel so incredible about it. Like all the Taylor Swift memories that are, I did not go, but all my friends who went, they're like, that was the night of my life. Like, oh my God, I can still feel it in my body. I can imagine myself being there. That's it. That feeling is the feeling that we need more of. And you don't only have to go to a Taylor Swift concert to get that feeling. You get it when you're trying to make sense of something, right? So poetry doesn't really matter to many people. It's not mainstream until you're grieving. And then it makes a whole lot of fucking sense.
That's powerful. I have been listening to a lot of Noah Kahan recently. Are you familiar with Noah Kahan's
Oh,
music? Or
Molly.
have you been listening to the new song, The Great Divide?
Yes.
Okay. I am like a kind of newer fan of Noah Kahan. I mean, I've listened to him for a long time, but I'm kind of obsessed with him these days. He has a line of like talking about the friend or the other person, like talking about the singer reading his mind. And it's like that I relate to that line so much because I am such a like lyric person in songs. And sometimes like I'll freak out about how much I'm obsessed with like a song of somebody's and nobody else gets it. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a tattoo right here from it says Without Fear. It's an artist named Dermot Kennedy who like his music, the lyrics, I'm like, I feel seen. I feel like a teenager again. I feel like this angsty, like how are you expressing something that I didn't ever know could be expressed? And I like will show people the music, and he's like an incredible vocalist, all these things. I show people the music and they're like, okay, like I don't get it. And it's but like that feeling of like being locked into yourself, I guess, is really like how I would describe it. And even if it's like not necessarily me being expressive, it's like even just experiencing that, it's like it is a creative experience. It's an experience where I'm like, oh my God, this is flooding me with feelings of something I've experienced in the past and like how powerful that is, how beautiful it is. And I'm making the connections right now in my head. So I went through a separation about a year and a half ago and have been on like this awakening over the last bit of like, this is who I am. I love this. This is like, life is great. Like, there's a lot of hard stuff going on. The world is collapsing around us. Like, a lot of things suck right now. But for me as an individual, I'm like, I am me finally. Like, I haven't been. And it's clicking to me as we're having this conversation that like a lot of those pieces are creative elements that I'm like surrounding myself in that don't necessarily feel like what I would think of as creative experiences, but it really is just like anything that makes me feel and like think about those feelings and make meaning of the world and my experiences through that. Yeah, like this is just, there's like light bulbs going off in my brain right now from all of this. So I hope for anyone listening too, there's like potentially you can think of moments in your life where you get that feeling too. Because more of that. We want more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And those light bulb moments for you, they're like so important to notice and like grab onto and somehow integrate or embody or bring in, lean in, be with, because it's such an important thing. When I use the example of like getting ready for work, whether your work is in or outside of the home.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have to dress a certain way to go to work, and that dressing a certain way, like just gives you the like, the feeling every day, it's like, that is a suppression of creativity in some way, shape, or form. And so if you can't, like, let's say that's a non-negotiable, right? Like you have to wear scrubs or something, is there a way to wear scrubs that still honors what that expression might need for you? Or is it under the scrubs that you express yourself? Is it like, a really kick-ass pair of underwear, or like the comfiest bra you've ever worn, or, like whatever that is that allows you to be a little bit more you is so incredibly important, because we are boxed in so many ways, right? Like social workers show up in this way, nurses show up in this way. This is what a teacher looks like. This is how they behave, or this is how they look, right? And that is like so incredibly empowering when you get to feel like you have agency or choice in some part of this life that we have to participate in.
Yeah, agency and choice. Like that's what it is. It's we're boxed in. Some of those things we can't change. Some of them we probably have more agency and choice than we think. But it's really finding the ways that the places that you do, and you have to be so intentional about it, because there's a prescribed way of doing motherhood. There's a prescribed way of doing all the roles that you do. Like it's
Yes.
You're supposed to do it, quote, supposed to do it. You should do it a certain way. And if you're not intentional, or if you don't hit a breaking point of like, I can't keep doing it this way, which I think so many people hit that, they're like, I can't do this. If you're not intentional about it, you don't get the opportunities to express. You have to make those choices. You have to step into that autonomy. Oh, this is like such an amazing conversation. I'm like, so good. Something I want to talk to you about is your thoughts on, I guess, like gentle parenting culture and like the parenting strategies and even like this culture of, I would say, hyper education about how we are supposed to show up for our kids in our role. Going back to, the quote, shoulds, what that looks like. I know you have a lot of thoughts on that, and I kind of want to just open it up because this is something I love talking about and getting other people's thoughts on. Tell
I
me your thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts about it. I think in theory, gentle parenting works.
Mm-hmm.
In practice, less so. And I want to make a distinction between what gentle parenting is at its roots.
Yeah.
And if we imagine this as a flower, dirt, stem, flower petals, the version of it that we consume on Instagram, which is the flower petals, which
Yeah.
making it pretty and simplified and easy and beautiful and attainable, aesthetically pleasing, that is not real life.
Yeah.
It is their tools. I have even shared tools along this line that have worked for me and my clients that would be under that category. And I think that the bigger discussion around this comes back to pretty much what I said in the beginning of it, creativity is finding yourself within it. Finding whatever version of parenting, whatever type of, if you're real solid in sturdy parenting from Dr. Becky, if you're real solid in like wholehearted living from Brene Brown, if you're real solid in like super nanny frameworks, all of these things are what we would consider authoritative parenting, which is what gentle parenting's intentions were. But so is like Janet Lansbury, and her stuff is a lot softer than say super nanny. But really, they are operating within the same framework. It's just facilitated differently based on temperaments and what naturally comes out of you, what naturally comes out of a friend, how you were raised, all of those things. And so without like debating what's good or what's bad, because I don't actually think that's super helpful, it's like gentle parenting is not the problem. Instagram's not the problem. The problem is the problem. And the problem is that we're always seeking a solution and they're going to give it to us. And then that framework is either going to work or not work. And then we're going to have feelings about that. And in this, like whatever somebody decides to kind of attach themselves to and feel good about, the bigger question for me is not whether gentle parenting is good or bad, is does it feel good when you facilitate it? Does it feel attainable? Does it feel like something you can actually do? Or does it feel like over here on the right is this like version of you or version of parenting that feels right and good, but you're like over here, like lost in the woods or drowning under mom guilt or the crushing weight of the mental load. The version of good, gentle, not abusive parenting feels really out of reach. And I think a lot of that content that is only the 1, 2, 3 or the ABC or the this is how you do it leaves out a lot of nuance and a lot of context around who any one person is and what the makeup of their relationship either is or isn't.
Yeah. It's funny how I'm like, yeah, so basically everything we've talked about, it's really, it comes down to the way that you exist in the world and how that's influenced by who you naturally are, right? Like there's pieces of that, but it's also the social construct that we've grown up in, what we believe to be right, how we were parented, all these things, right? And it's some of it's ours, some of it is external, but we show up with all of that. And we are all individuals, we're all unique. Our kids are all individuals and our kids are all unique. And I do agree. I think sometimes the way a lot of that is presented, it's like, hey, break these cycles, whatever, do the thing. If you do it this way, it's going to end in these results. And that's just not how parenting is. Like, that's our kids have their little expressions too. They are full people. I think it's a really interesting thing to look at because I think there's a lot of value in changing the conversations around the way we show up, and we're having more honest conversations about mental health and things like that. But I think a lot of the way things are presented can be problematic. Like you said, not because Instagram's a problem or not because even like individual creators or the parenting strategies are the problem, but it's like the problem is all of it. It's like it exists with so much nuance. So I appreciate you sharing all of that. I want to now ask you about your framework for guiding moms through, I guess, like healing, right? You call your framework the 4 waves. Can you walk us through that and what your work with moms looks like with the 4 waves, what the steps are
Yeah.
and all of that?
Yeah. So the wave that people are often drowning under or being crushed by or treading water in is guilt.
Yeah.
Shoulds and expectations and good and proper and right. And all of that has its own nuance and context based on the individual person. And the last wave is feeling good enough. And I'm still working on like a working definition of what I believe good enough is. It's not like I've screamed at my kid this morning and I'm doing my best. And so that's good enough. It is actually inherently good enough, but it's feeling good enough without, as a friend described it, like getting complacent in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's guilt and the myriad of emotions and other things that come with that. Moving into grace, which is being gentle on yourself, having self-compassion, being able to make mistakes, doing it badly. And moving into grit, which is just another word for resilience, and being able to withstand the next storm or withstand the next phase of parenting that might ease off a bit and then get really difficult again. Or, people who go through separations or loss of a parent or a job loss. Like, it's getting the resources that you need and taking as long as it takes and moving into good enough. And when I think about this whole ecosystem, it's not like it's linear. It's not like you move from guilt to grace to grit to good enough and then it's like, okay, I'm good, I'm done, I no longer have to do anything. There's likely going to be a bit of an ebb and flow, and as new parenting things come in or as different stressors come in or different ease phases of life, you might find yourself living in grace for a while, and you might feel really resilient for a while, and then something will knock you down, right? And then you're back into guilt, or you're back into, what is a good mom? What does this phase of my relationship look like? And so water metaphor really is helpful because I have a lot of clients who will come up with that metaphor on their own, just like your metaphor with the lemonade. It's like they will put it in the sense of like 2 ships passing in the night. I'm drowning. I'm being crushed. I am in the deep. I don't even know up from down. I'm in the newborn fog, right? And so there's so many really cool water metaphors within that. And it's easier to remove some of the shame or guilt or perfectionism from it when we think about that, like, okay, so you're drowning. What would a drowning person need? Like, let's remove it from you for a second.
Yeah.
What does a drowning person need? They often need some kind of life raft, a lifeguard. They need to find a big rock to put under their feet. They need to keep swimming. They need to tread water, like something, right?
Yeah.
There's something in that within what they need. And it's easier to think, okay, not I'm drowning. What do I need? But if a person was drowning, what would they need?
Yeah. That's a really interesting concept of like metaphors almost being able to be a way to depersonalize it in a helpful way. Like it's if you can understand your own situation and step back from it and look at it without making meaning of what it means about you, there can be a lot more grace. There can be a lot more recognition of resilience. There can be a lot more acceptance of good enough, whatever that means, right?
Whatever that means.
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful, that's something I'm going to take away from this conversation for sure, is just like that idea of creating metaphors around things and being able to like feel into that a little bit differently. And I love that framework. I mean, all those different pieces are things that I talk about here on the Sparkle Project. And I'm kind of just imagining kind of the ebb and flow. And I think when we can think of the flow of being in different places in your parenting experience, in your life experience, because there's so many factors. Like, of course, you're not just going from I'm having a hard time to everything's great. That's too much is changing externally for that to be the case. Like,
Yes.
obviously, we're going to be all over the place. Let's just accept that. It's powerful. For a mom who's listening, who maybe feels disconnected from herself, who feels like that expression piece is not there, who even am I? I'm lost in this whole thing. What's one small, accessible way that she could begin using creative expression as support today?
Thinking about that, what does this feel like if it was a landscape or it was a terrain? And this can just be like nobody even has to know that you're doing this, right? So it's like, let's say you're scrolling, it's almost bedtime, you're replaying the day in your head and you're thinking, what the hell was that? Who was that person? I don't even know. What is the metaphor or the analogy that would come to mind that's like, what does this feel like? Where would I be in the world or in an imaginary place that would kind of represent this experience? And let's just say it's climbing Everest with flip-flops. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you got flip-flops on and you're climbing Everest. What would somebody need if they were climbing Everest with flip-flops? And just by me saying that, you probably have an answer already.
I mean, yeah, I would say they need to not be.
For some people, it would be like, they need to climb back down.
Yeah.
They need to arrange for at the next, I don't even know what it is, like the next base camp for a new pair of boots to be delivered.
Yeah.
They need to get more supplies, helicoptered in, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there are so many. If this was a page in a children's book, what would the next page be? Right? And so for some people, yeah, it's like, I need to get the hell off this mountain. And for other people, it might be like, no, I need more supplies. I need more resources. I need some water. I need an animal sidekick. I need somebody to come with me. I need like, and so
Yeah.
when we depersonalize the, like, if you saw somebody climbing Everest with flip-flops, what do you perceive they would need? And that's a completely different answer from, I need somebody to go to the store and buy me boots. Because that would be asking for help. God forbid.
Yeah. This is like a whole new way of thinking. I love it. And it's really accessible. Like, it is totally something we all can do. I mean, it's, not necessarily, super easy, but like, we can do it. It's if we have the attention and give ourselves the time and space to connect inward, like, this is such an awesome strategy and way to do that. I feel like I could just talk to you forever about all of this. I'm like so fascinated by everything you've shared, and I have so many other questions, but it's a podcast and gotta wrap it up. Before we do, I have one last question for you that I ask all my guests, having to do with the sparkle, this internal, like, you-ness, the thing that makes you you, your essence, your energy, that can sometimes be kind of crushed under the weight of all of our roles and responsibilities, or hidden, or however you think about that. How do you protect your sparkle?
By honoring my creative whims, whatever that is, whether it is a gigantic 30 by 30 painting that I can only do in my office, by the way, not at home, or sitting down and just allowing myself to be. Like, it's a spectrum. It's just honoring what the urge is at this moment that feels really important.
Yeah, I love that answer. It's a beautiful, simple answer. Oh, such a great conversation. Kayla, where can listeners find you? Where should they follow along? And what should they be looking out for?
So my Instagram is at Kayla.Huszar, which is Huszar. Website is the same, KaylaHuszar.com. I also have a podcast called Chill Like a Mother, and various free and paid resources anywhere you can find me.
Amazing. I love your podcast. I love all the work that you're doing. I'm so grateful for you for just sharing this important information and ideology with us. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening. Keep on shining. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Sparkle Project. Loved what you heard? Share this episode with a friend, and don't forget to leave a rating and review to show your support for the show. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you then.